Inflation was a lot worse a few months ago. You can see that in the last 2 months now, inflation has been on the way down. There was once it was 34.8%, went down to 24.48%, went down to 23%. So it looks like inflation is on the way down. And if we don't have a scenario where people try to take advantage, and of course it's the role of government to ensure that people don't take too much advantage of people who are vulnerable, like salary earners. By every means, we should be looking at inflation heading towards 10% by the end of this year. Even though government has set a target of 15%, but like I've always told people, I also benchmark other countries. Countries like Pakistan. Nigeria's economy seems to very much mirror the Pakistani economy. It's almost the same population, almost the same GDP levels, in almost everything. And that Pakistan was able to take their inflation to 2.5% from 40%. Everybody knows that in the whole world there was a problem with inflation everywhere in the world. I mean, food prices have doubled in places like London, in the US and co. They had the what they call the cost of living crisis. They had inflation at 50-year high. In the last 3 years, 2 years, they saw inflation that they had never seen since the World War II. You see, so the point is this. Our scenario has now become, they said, Yoruba people will say they are bringing the bride to you. And that's where you start to make trouble. They are bringing the bride. Things are actually beginning to work. The policies of government, the reforms are beginning to come to fruition. And that's when some people say they want to, they want to make trouble, which is very unfortunate. So we have to ask ourselves if, as a people, we actually know how to act when we need to act. So people are complaining, but it's almost over. You can see the reforms that government has taken. Very important. And in fact, I thank you for your program, because we need every opportunity where we can air our views and also appeal to people and also explain to people what the agenda is and what the policies of government are. So Mr. President, for a while ago, they discussed with labor union and increased minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000. Some states took theirs to 80,000, some 75,000, 78,000, 74,000. Federal government said, okay, 70,000, that's minimum wage. That means that the lowest person employed by government, that's what they will earn. In fact, that the lowest person employed by even the private sector should be paid at least 70,000, because government is aware that the policies and the reforms that he has taken on will have inflationary effect, as hard inflationary effect, even though, like I told you, inflation is on the way down. And some of those states have started to pay. Federal too has started to pay. The youth service, for example, they increased their salary from what was it, about 33,000 or so, to 77,000. They started to pay. I saw somebody's alert today. Even though they could have started paying since 2 months ago. Even we could probably be advocating to say, okay, maybe they have intention of backdating till when the policy was started, in which case there's a differential they will pay. Again, it's a very big question you ask, because also let us interrogate the mind of the Nigerian. Okay, so fine. I think that most of this noise that we're hearing now are politically motivated, because it cannot be happening when policies are now beginning to, if you are paying salaries, if you are paying increased salaries, increased allowances, that means that people are getting something into their pocket. That means that their lives are getting a little bit better. It's not going to happen for everybody at the same time, okay? But at least something has started to happen, So I believe that they are politically motivated, given the fact that in this same country, mind you, some of the policies have actually led to people making a lot of money. Some people making a lot of money. I mean, recently we heard Mr. Macaroni said he was in debt for 500 million. That's just a comedian. Another comedian, what's this guy's name, lost $3.6 million. That is 6 billion. So people begin to ask myself, is it that people are always broke in Nigeria until they lose money? Then you now find out that, these guys were billionaires. So if we have many billionaires like that, perhaps it's a good time to also appeal to them that, look, all fingers are not equal. whoever they could help, let them help the person more. I mean, there was another billionaire musician who also neglected his father somewhere. You know, I mean, we see all these things. So this is the time to be generous, because it's not going to be the same for everybody, you know, at every point in time. It's not going to work, and there's nowhere in the world where there's not a bit of suffering. There's nowhere. So you see, the problem we face is, you know, the tyranny of the disconnected. You know, a scenario where maybe somebody runs into bad fortune, or, you know, maybe loses money one way or the other, and he decides to, if I lose money now and I come to the media and say the government is useless, they are making me suffer, maybe because of my personal issues, which I will not let anybody know. And, you know, the danger behind that is that, you know, we may cause a situation where there'll be catastrophe in the country, and that will set everybody back. Listen, you have called me to this interview, you are running your own company, and I obliged, I say, oh, it's a development program, let's talk about development. You are hustling. And in time, nobody knows, maybe one day you're going to make it big, but if you're not consistent in what you are doing, you probably will not be able to get it. If you decide that tomorrow you're not doing this, I've seen scenarios where tomorrow somebody say, I'm not doing this business again. And then 2 weeks later, somebody is calling you and say, hey, that business you say you are doing, that you've been selling to me, please come. So because everybody has a social media handle, okay, anybody can jump in front of the plague lights and, you know, vituperate and say that this is, you know, this country is this. Like I said before, every country has seen tremendous stress. Remember that, you know, in the field of economics, even though COVID happened in the year 2020, sometimes when such an event happens that is so cataclysmic, that is so fundamental, that is so unprecedented, sometimes it takes 10 years, 20 years for you to get out of it. Nigeria was one of the first countries that started getting out of its own, you know, without borrowing. And the other day in the UK, they said that they were complaining when the United Kingdom government started rolling back some of the COVID spending to say, look, we have to get this money back. Nigeria also spent money around that time. Now, people will talk about corruption and all. Yes, I admit, even though Nigeria is not the only corrupt country, all of those countries are equal. I mean, look at what's happening with Donald Trump recovering money from all sorts of funny capers that people had set up, including ghost workers. That's America. So I think I'm just saying that in short, please, let us give Nigeria a break. We have this country, it's our country. We are the ones that will make this country better and great. Note, if there are 10,000 people who, let's say, for example, we're able to really solve people's problem and take it down to maybe 10,000 or 50,000 Nigerians who are suffering. But if that 50,000 Nigerians, you know, access social media, they can paint a picture that can destabilize the rest of the people. They can also paint a picture that makes it look like that 50,000 is actually 5 million or 50 million people. Nigeria is on the up. We are positive people. This is a land of opportunities. There's so much to do this, and everybody that avails themselves and also deals with their own issue. This is also the time for everybody to, you know, a little bit make a bit of adjustment. I'm not asking for belt tightening. This is a time to know that, okay, whatever money you have, number one, can you feed, buy enough food? Don't try not to eat outside or spend money, or, you know, this is a country where we like our parties, we like our Owambe, everybody, you know, but it may not continue like that forever. We are the ones that said we want to live like the white people. The white people don't spend like that. When white people want to do a party, they do a party for 30 people, 20 people. But we do parties for 5,000 people every weekend, and it's all over the place and all of that. You know, so perhaps one should say that, look, be careful what you ask for. We are the ones who want to live like white people. We're beginning to see what it seems to live like white people, you know, and so we must probably ask ourselves, are you sure, do we really want to live like white people, and how long can we hold on to the way we used to live before? It's a global world. Artificial intelligence is having impact on things and everything. It seems like all of us are being corralled into this same modernity, this same modern way of life. So a few things are going to be different from what, I mean, for example, somebody complained on social media recently, youth copper, you know, that the country is terrible, and which we understand, prices of goods are going up. And in fact, the truth is also that maybe it depends on where you shop. I go into the market myself, you know, and people also take advantage sometimes. You know, so maybe if you are shopping in supermarket and they are marking up their prices, there's Federal Consumer Protection Commission, who their work is to go after those supermarkets and those places where they are increasing prices anyhow. But the same person is eating dinner of 65,000. So if you're a copper on 33,000, now 77,000, you're eating dinner of 65,000, you're already in trouble, because you finish your monthly allowance in one night. You know, equally for coppers, some of them were complaining. Well, they said they're spending 1.2 million naira to rent houses. That means that as a copper, you don't know your estate. If you are sent to Lagos to go and serve, and your parents are not extremely rich, you don't have to live in Lekki. I mean, as if we were not young once. When I even started working in Lagos, I was living in Okafa on the way to Ejigbo. That's why you wake up. That is what you have. You see, we have to be very careful so that, you know, the person born yesterday wants to live like someone that's been around for 50 years. You know, so gradually you get there. Yes, there's no patience anymore. It's a social media world. Everybody is looking at how it's happening in the US. But if you are sincere to look properly into how it's happening in the US, how it's happening in the UK, in Australia and co, you will see that life in those places, in many instances, is worse than what we have here. The number of people sleeping on the streets. If you miss your rent for 1 month, you're out on the street. Unlike here. So we still have a lot going for us, and I think that some of these people who say these things should just give us a little bit of a break and patience. There's no country that can assure that it'll be good. Everybody in the country will have it good and have excess money, enough money to spray. You know, Nigeria is the only place where people spray money in parties every weekend. Sometimes millions. Some other countries, some other people are trying to copy us, but this is a typically Nigerian thing. How did we get to that point? Are we ready for the sociological, socio-psychological change that will be required to take us to this nirvana, this heavenly, this utopia that we say we want to get to? That's the question. Let me tell you what affects the economy more. The way we talk about the insecurity is what affects the economy more. Now, you are calling Nigerians to you know, be patient and to also think very deeply before they say the things that they say about Nigeria. I mean, luckily, you have said quite rightly that insecurity seems to have reduced. There's no country that's totally safe in the world. You know, do you know that, you know, if you, in fact, the last time I was in the United Kingdom, I couldn't use my phone on the streets. You can't be walking and be using your phone. The boys riding bicycles, they snatch thousands of phones. You know? I mean, here you do that, anybody can use his phone on any street here. Why are we not afraid of going to the UK? In Chicago, every weekend in the city of Chicago, south side of Chicago, about 40 to 50 people get killed. Mostly blacks. Black on black violence. In the whole of the United States, about 30,000 people get killed every year in gun violence. That is more than the number of people that died in Nigeria in the peak of Boko Haram. But we would die to get the American visa and run there and not come back. I have friends who have been killed in the United States for nothing, just minding their business, just walking down the street. You know, so it's what we say about the insecurity that matters. How does insecurity affect? So theoretically, if security affects an economy because investors will not come there, tourists will not come, this and that, you know, that's theoretically on paper. But what affects the economy more, what is more real, that is, you know, is what the perception of insecurity. And that perception will be driven especially by what the people of that country say themselves. So if the people of the country are not wise enough to know how to package themselves the way the Americans and the Britons and the, you know, all these people are. I was in France recently. The moment you are getting into France, in their train station, there are pickpockets everywhere. And it's known, the police are there. They know some of them. When they see them, even without doing it, they just handcuff them. But the people are there, they rush there. You have the idea that, you know, we are living in the time of Oliver Twist, when Mr. Fagin, you know, used to get all these small boys and teach them how to pickpocket, send them out every day to go and pickpocket and come back. And you could see that in the so-called city of Paris, which everybody would die to get into, you know, if it's the fields you want to talk about, if it's the stench you want to talk about, if it's the crime you want to talk about, it's right there. How have they been able to package Paris as a city of romance? Our people say it is what you call your thing that everybody else will call it for you. If you bring a small bowl, if you bring a bowl, and you say, oh, this bowl was, you know, inherited to me by my grandfather, and you know, then he gave my father. Then this bowl, it may be made of plastic, and say this bowl is a sacred bowl. People will treat that bowl as sacred. If you bring the best porcelain in the world, the most expensive, and you say, oh, that's the thing I used to pack my, you know, refuse. People will use it to pack refuse. What you call your country, people will call it. So in this insecurity, as a matter of fact, Nigeria is not the most insecure. It's not one of the most insecure, and luckily it has begun to show in many of the indices. When I review many of the indices now, even the indices of unsafe countries, Nigeria, even in Africa, we don't even feature anymore. Honestly, I mean, as against the days of Boko Haram, we were number 4 in the world or something. You probably will see Nigeria like 14, 16, 20, number 20. Luckily for us, you know, so are we not wise to make sure that we leverage on this good fortune for now, rather than talk down on our country? So the people who give Nigeria problem most are the ignorant folks who, just to get a click, and which is criminal, because you want to get clicks, you want to sell your own market, you want to get money from Google ads and you know, YouTube and all of these people that give people money. You come every day and you face the camera and you talk down the country when you don't even know how to run anything yourself. You know, so those are the real people that are giving Nigeria a problem. The insecurity is not as bad, you know. Remember, and I'll close with this, that over December we had what they call Dirty December, and everybody came. This Dirty December was different because it was not just a case of Nigerians coming back home. It was Black Americans coming to Nigeria, Ghanaians coming to Nigeria, South Africans coming to Nigeria. Say, what is this so-called what's it called, Dirty December? And not a soul had any misfortune. Not a soul. Not a single person had a misfortune. So, oh, this guy, because they knew he came for Dirty December, he's from abroad, they attacked him in Lagos. No. And the so-called Dirty December was not just a Lagos thing. It was a pan-Nigeria thing, because of course the focus could be on Lagos and the party scene and those who came to watch Burna Boy or Davido or Wizkid or any of those guys that were playing their music, whatever, you know. But it was also a case that many people came back home to Nigeria. They would go to Asaba and come back. They would go to Owerri. What was happening in Owerri alone was almost as big as what happened in Lagos, what happened in Jos, what happened in Kano, in Kaduna, in Akure, where I'm from. People came back to Nigeria, and not a hair on their head was missing. And for once, we're able to show, without even trying, that Nigeria is a place you come and you're safe. Nigeria is far safer than many Western big countries or even big cities. The biggest cities in Nigeria, look at Abuja. Look at Abuja. Very organized. When I came back in from that Paris, coming into Abuja, I was coming with a sense of relief. I said, wow, we don't know what we have. And Nigeria must, you know, Abuja, for example, must never, even Lagos, must never get to become like some of those cities we praise. All you have to do is go. And, you know, many of our people who have jackpot and seen all of those things are not being truthful. If they were being truthful, they will tell you. Of course, you can maybe get jobs there. Of course, they are looking for someone to do their menial work and all of that, pay you money, but hey, are you going to 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, are you going to still be trying to fix bread and butter issues, how to feed? So Nigeria is still the best place. This is our own country. We are the ones that will make it better. Well, you know, politics is politics. You can see that many of the political gladiators you mentioned, some of them are very desperate now because they see 2027 as their last-ditch effort. You'll be surprised that, you know, don't be surprised that they are going to do a lot of very desperate things in the next few weeks and months. They see it as their last-ditch effort.